Hello, welcome back to Mining Network. I'm with Darren Stralow, the CEO over at Bellevue Gold, and we're at the Precious Metal Summit here in Beaver Creek. Darren, good to see you.
Yeah, awesome to be here.
Just a quick overview before we get into the details. What's the company?
Yeah, so look, Bellevue Gold, we have a development project in the northern Goldfields of Western Australia. It's an asset that has tier one characteristics, 200,000 ounce per annum, bottom quartile all-in sustaining cost, tier one ESG metrics, and we're developing now on the pathway to production in the second half of 2023.
Awesome. Okay. Let's actually touch on the economics first, because maybe you can remind people. So you're in construction at the moment. I think you're looking for production next year, which is exciting. What can people expect in terms of what's the ramp up going to look like? Is it stage gated, and what can we get a glimpse of in terms of the revenue coming through this mine?
Yeah, awesome. Good question. So it's a high grade underground mine. We've already been mining it for 2 years, doing the capital development to get down to the main mining areas, and it's a 6 gram per tonne reserve that we're mining. So what's really pleasing is we're straight into that 6 gram material straight away when we turn our processing plant on. So we've got a 1 million tonne per annum straight CIL processing plant. So nice and basic, simple, not a huge plant. 97% recovery through the plant, 60% recovery through the gravity circuit. Pretty impressive numbers. And for the first 5 years, from a free cash flow perspective, we're looking at, I'm talking Aussie dollars here, but Aussie dollars circa $250 million per annum free cash flow. So, it's a market that's screaming out for assets that have free cash flow. We're going to have plenty of it.
No, awesome. Okay, let's take a step back into the geology. Say you were talking to a geo, maybe even in a pub or wherever, but that you wanted to tell them what was exactly in the ground. Obviously, it's high grade, but what's the depth of this thing? What's the ore body look like? Give us a bit more of a flavour of actually what's there.
Yeah, great. So look, I'm a mining engineer, so I'll do my best to explain it to you. But so what we're in this in the region of Western Australia known as the Agnew-Wiluna Greenstone Belt. So this is an Archean lode deposit. Through there are these deep crustal tapping structures, and the typical size. So there's a lot of Archean lode gold deposits in the region around us, and the typical size of the project is about 5 to 10 million ounces in those deposits. Now, we've just drilled from surface and we've defined to sort of 600-700 metres below surface. Our current endowment is about 3.9 million ounces if you count the sort of circa 800,000 ounces of old workings that are there. But we now have a 3.1 million ounce reserve at about 10 grams per tonne, and of that we have a 1.3 million ounce resource at 6 grams. Sorry, reserve at 6 grams per tonne. It's a typical subvertical ore body, massive basalt footwall and hanging wall, so that's good for mining engineers like me. And there are some minor high-grade flat dipping structures there as well, but the majority is subvertical, your typical lode gold deposits. Yeah.
Good. So good metallurgy. You're on the way to produce sort of full-scale production, or back in next year. Is that right?
That's correct. Okay. Yeah.
And how's the actual construction going at the moment? It sounds like you're sort of towards the finish line now, or getting there.
Yeah. Look, it's going really well. So we're about 2/3 of the way through, I would say, in terms of when we started our underground development through to now. The next big step for us is the commencement of the construction of the process plant, which is imminent, and then that puts us on the pathway of 12 months to first gold. So it's a pretty exciting time for us. We're finalising all of our final permitting, which we're working really closely with the WA state government. It's a brownfields deposit, and we don't see any issues there. We've got dealing with our traditional owners. We're very well advanced. Have a great relationship with the Chihuahua Aboriginal Corporation, which are the traditional owners of the ground that we operate on. And once we're already breaking ground, and it's just about building a plant now and ramping up the underground. So we're quite well advanced.
So obviously, we're going into production at the moment. Most of what, especially the institutional market, are looking at is sort of your ESG criteria. Mm-hmm. How does a gold mine in Western Australia fit into that? Or what's your vision in terms of actually having this as a sustainable project in the future?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question, and sustainability has been a big focus for Bellevue for a number of years now. So there was a very clear strategy put in place to try and be a leader in the ESG space that we've been enacting for a long time. and we're really seeing the benefits of that as we're building our project. So, we are focusing on being, when built, the project will be the lowest greenhouse gas emitter on a per ounce basis of any major gold mine in Australia. And we have a stated aspiration of being a net zero gold producer by 2026, which is well ahead of our peers.
And how do you get there in terms of where does this source of energy come from in terms of getting to net zero?
Yeah, good question. So the power station that we're going to build is going to be industry leading. So the highest renewable energy penetration power station currently operating a mine in Western Australia is doing between 50 and 60% renewable energy. We're going to be targeting 80% renewable energy when you average at over a year at Bellevue. And the power station that we're building is going to be capable of running the mine off 100% off renewables for up to days at a time, obviously weather permitting. But it's going to be wind, it's going to be solar, it's going to be battery, and then that's going to be balanced by a thermal set with containerised natural gas, which is a lower emitter than diesel as well. So, we're working with one of the leading power providers in Western Australia that has done it before. And we'll be building that power station, which will be fully commissioned. We'll have the solar in by the time we're pouring gold next year, and the wind will be commissioned at the start of 2024.
Okay, and how does it look like in terms of inflationary pressures at the moment? Is it on budget, or are you eating into contingency? How's that looking?
Yeah, look, awesome question. So what we've done is we put out a new project update study in June this year. What we wanted to do was rebase the project into real today dollars and real today cost base, and then that is the project that we are delivering on as we speak. Where we've moved from there, it's just been about contracting and locking in all of the cost drivers that are going to drive that project. So we're now, as we said, we did a release last week. We signed a raise boring contract, but we've locked in our underground mining, our EPC build for our mill, surface works, raise boring, and we're now 90% contracted, so fully contracted. And those contracted costs are in line with what we released in the study.
And those costs are fixed now?
Those costs are fixed now. And what that does, it only leaves 10% that are exposed to fluctuations, because it's no lie, the whole industry, no matter whether you're in Australia or elsewhere, has been under a lot of inflationary pressures and a lot of volatility, particularly over the last 12 months. So we wanted to work hard to lock in those cost drivers and make sure it was contracted. And the last big contract we've got is out to tender now. We'll have that back shortly, and then we can say we're 100% contracted, and all we're doing is executing and building the project.
And there's enough in the kitty. You've got the credit or the funds there to fulfil the last 10%.
Yeah, correct. So we have at June 30, we had 117.5 million of cash in the bank. We've got a $200 million debt facility with Macquarie Bank. We haven't drawn on that yet, and that's enough money to take us through to first production. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. And I just want to get a better idea of what this company turns into over the next couple of years, because obviously you go into production. Mm-hmm. You're going to be generating, it's a huge high grade, you're mining a huge amount of gold here.
Yeah.
The revenue is going to be awesome. What do you do? What do you then do? Do you have ever exploration projects that you want to be putting in? Are you trying to extend the mine life on this one? What does your focus then turn into, other than obviously operation focus?
Yeah.
Where does the company go from here?
Yeah, look, I guess the world is our oyster, right? Once we get and build it, we're pretty much head down, bum up, just in executing the project right now. But if we had unlimited capital available to us, we would be doing a lot more exploration than we're doing right now. We really like the ground that we're on. We know that it's not cut off at depth, it's not cut off along strike. There has been some surface restrictions in terms of where we can get. So once we're underground, we're able to target particularly the southern end of the mine and expand things that way. We're sitting with a pretty enviable production profile from the start. We're talking a 10-year mine life, 200,000 ounce per annum mine, and there's sort of two ways to grow that. So we drill and explore and grow it from a resource and reserve base and extend mine life, but we also have opportunity, with the installed infrastructure that we've got. We've oversized the crushing circuit of our plant, and we're confident that we can push that plant to 1.2 million tonne per annum with no extra capital outlay, and 1.5 with only sort of some moderate capital spend on it. So in terms of the project itself, there's a lot of growth optionality. and then we're going to have a motivated team that's just built a project that's operating a good long life mine, and we could potentially go out and look for what's your second or third asset. That might be through exploration, that might be through M&A, but we'll deal with that once we get to it. And I think our motto is you got to earn the right to grow. So first thing that we have to do is build the project, deliver on the metrics that we're saying, and then once we've done that, we can work out what the next step is.
Yeah, not a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
Looking, let's say over a shorter time period, obviously you've got the production commencing, but what are the key milestones that people need to look out for? It's obviously with construction, it's a period where some investors don't mind if others are a bit put off sometimes because there is some risk associated.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've actually got your cost structures quite right. We've seen with a lot of some companies sort of underestimate, and it can get a bit wild.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It sounds like you're not in that scenario, which is great. But what should people be looking out for? What are the next steps that are confirming that you are really on track and that you're actually delivering this? What can people look out for?
Yeah, so look, I think the next big milestones for us is finalising our permitting, getting fully into the build of our process plant, and then from there it's all just about execution. And when you look at similar companies, all around the world that have delivered on building a project and putting the metrics in. Capricorn did it really well in Australia. You've had West African Resources do it over there. Pretium in North America did it. Roxgold did it in West Africa. These are all companies that had one of those single asset development stories. And in the 12 months as they led into production, you saw a significant re-rate as they moved from being that risk on PNAV discount valued company into hey, these guys are actually going to produce gold bars, and you get valued on cash flow multiples and a re-rate through that. So the journey for us is just to keep showing people, keep showing all stakeholders that we're executing on our strategy, we're building our mine, we're getting closer and closer to first gold, and then the pathway is the same for us, and we do believe that re-rate is coming.
Awesome. Darren, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you.